Ask anyone in the academy, and they will tell you that deep space explorer is the job everyone dreams about. But anyone who does get the job will tell you just how bad it is. Endless cycles of flying, scanning, and then flying some more, all while being locked inside of a ship the size of a small apartment building. To say cabin fever sets in quickly would be an understatement. Still, the young and naive will shoot for the position. Some might say that it is simply human nature to want to explore and find something that no one else has ever laid eyes upon. Whatever the reason was, it was this naive hope of finding something new that landed Lisa in this pickle. She was a healthy 25-year-old, fresh out of the academy, proud graduate of the class of 2247. Her skin was fair, her hair was fiery red, and she possessed a well-toned body as a result of all the training she went through. For the last several years, she had been training to be a deep space explorer, and now that she had gotten her wish, she just wanted to be anywhere else. That wasn't to say that she didn't occasionally enjoy her job, particularly when she's able to record the discovery of a new planet or asteroid cluster, but those long periods of time between these places were killer on her psyche. The only thing that was able to keep her even remotely sane was also a necessary part of being an explorer. Her partner. Ships always went out with people working in pairs or trios. Daniel was great. They got along well, even in their academy days, having a similar sense of humor and shared some hobbies with one another. They both put in to be partners with each other, because you had to be able to get along when you are locked in a metal box for months with someone. Lisa was sitting in the pilot seat of their ship, checking the different status screens to make sure that nothing was going wrong while they were in transit. The door to the cockpit opened, and Lisa glanced over her shoulder to see Daniel stagger in and flop down into the co-pilot seat with a yawn. His black hair was rather messy right now, and he had definitely gotten a lot paler since they started this journey due to the lack of direct sunlight they received. "Morning sleeping beauty. Looks like you enjoyed your little nap," Lisa said, with a slightly teasing voice. "Yeah, well, after that double shift I had to pull when the plumbing line cracked, I've been whipped. I appreciate you taking over my shift at the helm. No big deal, basically just watching a bunch of blinking lights. Honestly, might have fallen asleep myself a few times. Promise not to rat me out?" He chuckled a bit. "Sure, so long as my unscheduled nap doesn't make it into the logs." "Deal?" With that bit of light-hearted banter, they both went back to their jobs, which for now were directing the last stages of exiting from slipspace. When they exited traveling speed and coasted to a much more reasonable pace, the first of the scans for the new system they entered were sent out. Lots of stray gases and rocks. There was a small, moon-sized celestial body that was high in metal content, though. Well, that might make a good mark for a mining colony to set up around for a few years. I think that's worth a bonus, at least," Lisa commented. "Yeah, not the most interesting system we've ever been to, but it has potential, making note of it in the log." Everything seemed to be going rather by the book. Lisa was interested in the possibility of the small moon growing into something else, maybe a gas planet given another few tens of thousands of years. Still, nothing much left to do here, so she started blinking on the console, one that shouldn't have been blinking this far out in the middle of nowhere. "Huh," she idly sounded out while reaching out to change the screen's projection. "What's up?" Daniel asked. "Oh, I'm not sure yet. The sensors are picking up a signal, but it's probably just stray background radiation tricking the system. Let me clear it up." Daniel nodded and let her do just that while he focused on taking a detailed recording of the moon for those back home. Meanwhile, Lisa was still trying to find the cause of the signal and filter it out. The only problem she found was that it was locally generated, not just a strong interstellar pulse. Her brow dropped in clear confusion as she started to set the scanner to track the source of the signal. It pinged several times and it came back that it was moving. "Hey, Daniel." "What's up?" "Do you know if there are any deep space probes in the area?" Let me check. Why?" "That signal that we found is locally generated and it's moving." "Oh, damn. Are we trespassing on a corporate claimed system?" "That's what I want to find out. Pull up the probe list for this area." "Already on it. Let's see." He scanned through the list that appeared on the screen in front for a minute, reading over various probe identifiers and posting notices. This might be a problem. There are no active probes in the area, at least none that are registered. Illegal operations. It's possible. We should snap a few pictures and then report this. All right, I'll keep an eye out for additional signals. If this turns out to be pirates, we need to gun it out of here. Diverting power to engines, adjusting heading, and here we go. With a few simple commands, she pushed the ship into motion towards the mysterious signal. It was about 30 minutes of sub-slip flight to reach the general area. The tension was building in the cockpit as the two continued to be on the edge of their seats, just in case this turned out to be a trap. They entered the zone of the signal's source, and it was projected to be within 20 miles of their current position and closing fast. "Can we get a visual on this thing yet?" Lisa asked. "Hold on. Locking in on the source. External cameras are active and searching." It was a few minutes later that a ping sounded from his console. "Got it. Putting it on the main screen." They both looked over to see that the source of the signal was a ship, although it wasn't of any design or make that they were familiar with. "Daniel, any ideas of what to do? They seem to have power, but are they stranded?" "I'm not picking up an SOS. It just seems like they are transmitting a stream of data somewhere. Should we try hailing them?" Lisa contemplated that for a moment. "We should, just in case they need help. I've got the engines hot and ready to go if things get pear-shaped." Opening up a channel now. Daniel flipped a few switches, and the mic was hot. "Unidentified vessel, this is the Chariot of Helios. We were passing through the area when we picked up your data stream. Are you in need of assistance?" There was a minute where nothing came back on the radio. "Unidentified vessel, please respond." A second later, Daniel's eyebrows went up. The way he sounded had Lisa worried. "What? What's wrong?" "Their signal stopped," he replied tersely, keeping his focus on the panel in front of him. "Good or bad?" "Don't know. There are a lot of things this could mean. They might be doing something illegal, in which case they think we busted them. The stop of the signal could be a signal for someone else, in which case this is a trap, or they're just trying to redirect their focus onto us. Here's hoping it's the last one. I'm ready to blow this joint at a moment's notice." "Hold on. They're sending something back. I'll put in on speaker." What came through was a series of clicking, screeching, and whistling sounds that made the two of them flinch. "The hell was that?" Lisa asked. "Maybe they are having some technical problems. Let me try again." He started to transmit again. "Unidentified vessel, please repeat your last message. We did not understand you." This time there was a long pause in the back and forth that lasted several minutes before the ship started to send them something. "They're sending us a data package," Daniel said, as the information came in through the screening process. "What's on it?" "Hold on. It's a pretty big file size." There was a pause for a moment before he quirked his brow questioningly. Is this a lexicon?" "What?" "Let me see that." She leaned over to get a view of the stream of symbols and occasional accompanying pictures. It had a similar layout to the lexicons that they were familiar with and were taught about in the academy, but there were some minor differences that made it unique. Daniel, do you recognize any of this? The format, sort of, but not the characters or the language used here. Lisa, I'm thinking we might be involved in something big here. Wait. You don't mean that this is? He nodded. Yeah, this might be a first contact. That was hard to grasp for the two of them. In over 50 years of human deep space travel, there hadn't been a single sign of alien life. To think that they would be the ones to discover another civilization was difficult to process. Still, there were procedures in place for such a happening, if ever it did occur. Okay, so... She fumbled around the console a little bit while trying desperately to remember the steps as her mind was thrown into chaotic panic. Fuck! I mean, aliens. I know. Just try to keep calm and let's give them our own lexicon. We have it around here. Somewhere. He might have not have been as visibly panicked as she was, but he was still floundering a bit with the ship controls. Okay, all right, I'm calm, I'm good. I'll just, put their lexicon through the learning program. The simple 6th program could pass an insane amount of data and find common patterns that it would use to devise a logical conclusion. In this case, it would decipher their language, at least in written form. You do that. I just found our lexicon file and am now sending the packet to them. Oh, damn. Almost forgot. We need to record all of this so we have it on file. Really? Shit. As if I wasn't already under enough pressure. Can't we send out a request for help? Take a deep breath. We're months out into wild space, and any message will take weeks to travel. I'm going to start the recording. While Lisa watched the learning program slowly decipher the alien lexicon, Daniel started the recording with a brief description of their names, the name of their ship, and the situation that they had found themselves in. Once the basics were covered, it was now just a waiting game. Either they would figure out the alien language first, or the aliens would decipher theirs. Whatever the outcome, the tension from waiting was terrible. It felt like the progress bar on the translations was taking forever. And eventually, Lisa just got up to go and prepare something to eat, so she had something to distract herself with. While cooking on the shuttle was rather limited, given the nature of their job, there was a certain art in preparing the dehydrated foods in a way that would make them palatable. The process of making their favorite combination of dried foods was simple, but required focus. That was able to distract her for a while, and the meal helped return the mood around the ship to at least a relative normal. Hours ended up passing. The progress that the learning program made on the lexicon was significant. It was almost a full day of waiting, and they had just reached the 3/4 mark on the program before the console pinged with an incoming message. Both of them were dozing in the cockpit when the console came alive again, and they jumped in their seats while scrambling to their stations again. "What just came in?" Lisa asked with a slightly frantic tone. "Hold on, checking now. We appear to be receiving a message, text only. It just says, 'Hello.' They sent that? Does that mean they figured out our language?" She sounded a bit more excited. The first successful communication between different species. That's what it seems like. I guess their programs were more advanced than ours. I wonder what else they have that might be better. Daniel contemplated all the possibilities before shaking his head. Let's save the speculations for later. We should return a message. She shot him a grin. Will it be the stereotypical message that we always see? He gave a grin himself. What better message is there? I've always wanted to say this. He began typing out the message they would send to the aliens in reply, and Lisa watched as the words appeared on the screen. "Greetings from humanity. We come in peace and wish for cooperation." The cockpit went still for a few minutes, and you could barely even hear the two breathe as they waited for the reply. "Hello, humanity. We of the Ursul Collective are gladdened to hear of your peaceful intentions." "Yes!" Lisa shouted out and threw her hands into the air. "Aliens! Peaceful aliens! Fuck yeah! I wonder what kind of music they have. Maybe they're fuzzy." She gasped at the realization. "Oh my God! If they're furry little guys, I'm going to lose it." "Please do not scare away the aliens before we have a chance to establish diplomatic relations." "That depends on them and how cute they are. I'll kick you out of this cockpit if you do anything crazy," she huffed. "Fine, I'll try to contain myself." "Good." With that, he got back to the conversation with the aliens known as the Ursul. "We are very far from our home on a scouting mission, but we hope that you would be willing to set up a meeting between our leaders." After a pause for apparent deliberation was had, they replied, "We do not have much authority as we are similar to you in occupation. However, news of meeting people from the stars will be heeded by all, so we need to return to our world to establish such a meeting. We invite you to follow, but would need access to your computers to relay navigation data to avoid stellar obstacles." "That might be a problem," Lisa idly states. "The security on the navigation controls wouldn't recognize any of their computers and lock them out. They would need to give them to us in person, which means they would have to come aboard, and we don't yet know if our atmospheres are compatible." "Well, we can ask them about that at the very least." He got to work, typing again. "We are honored that you would invite us to your home, but our ship lacks the means of receiving that data unless it's in person. If you would tell us the composition of your atmosphere and the weight of your gravity, it would help us figure out if it is possible for a visit between our ships to take place." There was another brief pause before the reply. "Our atmosphere is mostly a nitrogen-oxygen composite of 75 and 23% respectively, with gravity set at 9.53 meters a second. Okay, that is relatively comparable to our own conditions. It should be safe for you to come aboard for the transfer, at least for a little while until further tests can be made. If you are willing to come aboard, we would be happy to host you for as long as you need. We are very excited for the prospect of being the first to meet with a new species face to face. How would we connect our ships? Our dock has a flexible tube attachment that can seal around a variety of ports. You will have to make a short jump through zero gravity, but you can make it across safely. Do you have any concerns about this?" "We do not. 2 of us will make the trip across. You may approach us slowly. Our port is extended and waiting for your umbilical." With permission received, they began their cautious approach so as to not spook the aliens or cause an accident. The strange, oblong vehicle they piloted had a flat bottom, was gunmetal grey, and currently had a tube extended from its port side. Lisa and Daniel piloted their ship to match the speed at which the alien vessel was drifting. Once they were synchronized, the umbilical tube was extended out from their ship and carefully wrapped around the extended port where it was vacuum sealed and then atmospherically pressurized. The umbilical is secure. You may cross when ready. Acknowledged, we will begin the boarding process for your ship." Lisa jumped out of her seat and rushed to the airlock, practically bouncing off the walls with excitement. She couldn't even stand still as she rocked on the balls of her feet while waiting. Daniel was much more reserved, but still held a fixed grin that showed he was eager to see the aliens as well. Soon, the sound of the outer airlock closing was heard inside the ship, and the 2 humans straightened themselves out as much as possible. Lisa bit her lip in anticipation, taking a few deep breaths to calm herself to a respectable level. The inner door started to open, and Lisa stepped forward to speak first, only to freeze in place at the sight of the beings standing in the entrance. Standing in the entrance to the airlock were two aliens over 6 feet tall that looked like upright arthropods. Their black shells were reminiscent of ancient earth trilobites, 8 limbs consisting of 4 legs and 4 arms, with heads similar to that of vespids, clacking mandibles and antennae included. Lisa went stiff as a board and pale as a ghost, frozen in abject horror. The 2 alien arthropods also stopped all bodily movement at the sight of the humans before the one on the left let out a screech and charge at Lisa. "Holy fucking shit, this is Shawidi," was the only thought that went through her head before her arms were seized by the alien with 2 of its graspers holding her by the elbows and the other 2 by the shoulders. Its mandibles clacked rapidly as it let out a series of whistling, humming, and trilling sounds while prodding along her head with its antennae. Lisa was so paralyzed that she couldn't even find it in her to scream. Her heart was racing so fast in her chest that she thought it might explode as she was on the verge of tears. In a single act of desperation, she managed to look towards where Daniel was, hoping that he would come to her rescue, but only seeing him backing away from the other alien that was moving towards him as well. "Hey, I'm warning you, dude. Stay away from me. I'll rock you upside the head." He threatened the alien that paid no mind as it still slowly closed distance with him. "Daniel, help!" she managed to stammer out. He looked over at his partner in the grasp of the large alien and then back at the one trying to corner him. With a curse on his lips, he swung a haymaker and struck the alien approaching him on the side of its head. Immediately, pain shot up through him as it felt like he had just punched a rock, but the alien was sent staggering from the blow. Wasting no time, he rushed to the aid of his partner, and learning his lesson, he opted to grab her while shoving as hard as he could against her captor. The alien's grip wasn't all that strong, and she slid out of its grasp while it stumbled backwards. Immediately, he pulled Lisa behind him and started to back away from them towards the cockpit. The aliens had recovered from the blows, though still appeared to be somewhat disoriented. The one that Daniel had pushed had moved to assist the staggering alien that was punched before trying to approach the 2 humans again with raised graspers. Daniel put up his fists for a fight, but the punch-drunk alien reached out and grabbed its comrade, stopping them from approaching. This alien took the lead over its comrade, approaching extremely slowly in a half-bowed manner. Daniel did not drop his guard, but he took notice as the alien reached towards one of its arms, which had a device attached to it. Their nimble 4-fingered hands started to tap away at the device for a moment. After they stopped fiddling with the device, the console in the cockpit pinged with a notification for a received message. Daniel cast a quick glance in that direction before returning an iron-clad gaze onto the aliens who were standing completely still. "Lisa, go check what that message says. I'll watch them." She was more than okay with that, as it gave her an excuse to get as far away from the freaky aliens as possible. Now, in the other room, she felt significantly better and was able to focus a little more. Checking the screen, she found the message somewhat odd and yelled out at Daniel what it said. The message says, "I am sorry. We appear to have breached some sort of social barrier and apologize. We hope that we have not damaged our chances at relations." Daniel's brow dropped in contemplation. Was this just a misunderstanding? He started to feel a little bad for punching the one alien. "Lisa, can you link my tablet to the ship systems and bring it to me?" "Yeah, right, 1 second." She was a little bit unsure about going back into that room, but so long as she kept Daniel between herself and the aliens, she could manage. After syncing the devices, she returned to Daniel and handed him the tablet, not so subtly hiding behind him as just looking at the two aliens made her break out in a cold sweat. Daniel started to type out a question to help clarify the situation. "Why did you grab my partner like that?" After reading the message, the alien frantically started typing on their device. "I apologize profusely for any offense that this might have caused. My own partner was simply overcome with surprise and failed to control themselves. There was no harm intended." "And what was intended? You still haven't said why you reacted that way or laid hands on my partner." Daniel fixed them with a glare, and despite them being significantly more terrifying than him, they seemed to shrink a little under his gaze. When they started typing again, it was with some hesitance before they sent it. "We do not wish to offend you, but you are very appealing to our senses, especially the smaller human with the bright fur. My companion simply could not resist touching, and I apologize for his and my own actions." Daniel and Lisa were shocked when they read that, and it took them a solid minute to fully process it. "So you're saying that you find us cute?" "Yes."